Hey guys, James Brown with Barton Springs Mill here for your next episode of Ask Your Miller Mondays. Welcome to Ask Your Miller Mondays Volume 7. My name is James Brown. I'm the proprietor of Barton Springs Mill, and I'm here to answer your questions about all things flour. So we're going to dive right in with our first question today. Panettone flour is milled from soft wheat with high gluten. Any comparable options, presumably from our offerings here at Barton Springs Mill. I have to say I'm a little confused by that description. I'm not a big panettone baker, but I sort of follow the goings on of folks who, as we get into the holiday season, get into the panettone mood. Particularly one of my friends, Maurizio Leo at theperfectloaf.com, talks about it quite a bit, and there's been considerable discussion. And it tends to center on high protein. But the problem with soft wheat is it may be high in protein, but the quality of the gluten is not very high. And panettone is a long fermented bread item that needs a strong flour. So even though you might have, say, a high protein soft white wheat flour, that would not be a very good candidate, in my opinion, for making panettone. I would go with a hard red or hard red winter or hard red spring wheat that's high in protein, somewhere between 13 and 15%. The logical choice, it seems, from our offerings would be Rouge de Bordeaux, probably sifted to 00. Which right now I think our flour, or the Rouge de Bordeaux, is coming in at 15% protein. So that would be a perfect candidate. I think also our Tam 105 sifted to 00 and our Ruby Lee sifted to 00 would all work incredibly well. So give those a shot. Seems like for the kind of flavors and aromas that you're trying to get out of panettone, that the Rouge de Bordeaux is an obvious choice with the baking spices and cinnamon if you're into that sort of thing. Next question, how should we store our flour? Pantry, freezer, do whole berries and corn last longer? Great question, one that we get a lot. If you have the space and are not against taking up freezer space, I like the freezer. It certainly pushes the life expectancy of your flour out by a considerable amount. I would say to 6-7 months easy. What's happening is once you have fractured those berries, you've exposed those germ oils to oxygen, and they will immediately begin to oxidize. And over time, the wheat will become rancid. And it's a particular smell that once you've smelled it, if you smelled it in cooking oil or peanut butter, any of these things, when the oils go rancid, it has a very distinctive smell. That will happen with flour also. If you're buying whole berries, though, gosh, they are really resilient and stay fresh for a very long time. USDA says about 7 years before there is a noticeable degradation in quality. That being said, wheat has recently been sprouted that was discovered in vessels at the Masada from the time of the Roman occupation. So that goes to show you that those wheat berries, when they're whole, are incredible little time capsules that will last quite a long time. We're thankful for that because of all of those wheat varieties that we have frozen at the U.S. Gene Plasm Bank for future use and development. It's a good thing, a fortunate thing that they last so long. Same with corn. As soon as you fracture it, you're going to start seeing degradation due to oxidation. So freezer is the best choice, in my opinion. Fridge also would help and probably pushes it out by, from what we say for flour in the pantry, 3 months or so to 4 months approximately. If it's going to be in the pantry, make sure it's in a cool, dark place. Another thing that we're hedging against is insects, either ones that are already in your home that find their way into your flour, or ones that occur in nature, and because of our organic practices here, they're very difficult to control. We take all the steps we can to kill those little guys before we clean the wheat or before we make flour from it. And I think our processes for that are very effective, but they're not perfect. And when you're not using storicides and insecticides, it's always going to be a challenge. Next question. Is flour milled in one pass, or is it sifted and re-milled to get a consistent grade like 00? That's a great question and a fairly technical one. Depends on the methodology. In roller milling, there is a series of breaks that the whole wheat berries go through. A first break where the berries are cracked essentially, and then they're sent to be bolted or sifted, and then that remaining flour is sent back to another series of rollers for additional milling. The processes that we're using here are much simpler than that. We are going single pass through the stone mill and then onto the sifter and then into the bag. That's going to produce a very different type of flour than what happens in a roller milling scenario, where there's also tempering going on, the soaking of the grain, either by water mist or steam to toughen the bran layer. It's just a very different methodology all the way around. We have a lot of surface area with our stones. Our smallest stones are 48 inches in circumference, and our largest are, in diameter. Our largest are 60 inches in diameter. That means that the wheat spends a lot of time between those grinding surfaces, and we get incredibly fine flour from that. The only issue is in a scenario where you want to remove as much bran and germ as possible to make a pure white flour. That's not necessarily so helpful. It would be better to crack those berries, send them to sifting, and then back for further refinement. And there's where the existential crisis for the artisan miller lies. What kind of flour do you want to make when you grow up? And ultimately, we want to make flour that is rich in character, flavor, and aroma. And so we give up certain things in order to keep those things.